I really appreciate you taking care of me.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy here with you.
Me too.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today's story is an emotional journey of betrayal, survival, and a life-changing encounter by fate. Tieu Lac, a young woman with a fragile heart, was cruelly sold by her adoptive mother to pay off a gambling debt. Trapped in a car with dangerous men, she made a desperate choice, escaping from the moving vehicle and jumping into a dark, freezing river to protect her dignity and her life. Carried away by the strong current, Tieu Lac lost consciousness, drifting helplessly between life and death. Just when hope seemed to disappear, destiny intervened. A passing CEO noticed her unconscious body by the riverbank, stopped his car, and rushed her to the hospital. His timely decision pulled her back from the edge of death. When Tieu Lac finally woke up, she found herself safe for the first time in her life. Facing the man who saved her, she expressed her gratitude through tears, unaware that this moment would mark the beginning of a completely new fate, one filled with protection, healing, and an unexpected bond between two strangers. What will happen next? Will Tieu Lac be able to escape her painful past? And how will this chance encounter change both of their lives forever? If you enjoy emotional, dramatic stories about love, fate, and second chances, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching, and now, let's begin the story. Tieu Lac had never imagined that the woman she had called mother for more than 10 years would one day become the person who destroyed her life. That night, the small, dimly lit house felt colder than ever. The air was thick with the smell of alcohol and desperation. Her adoptive mother sat silently at the wooden table, hands trembling as she signed a piece of paper. On the other side of the table were several men with cruel eyes and mocking smiles, loan sharks who had come to collect a gambling debt. Tieu Lac stood frozen near the door, her heart pounding wildly. She didn't understand everything at first, until she heard one sentence that shattered her world. "She'll go with us. That should cover the debt." Her knees weakened. She looked at her mother, eyes filled with disbelief and fear, silently begging her to deny it. But the woman avoided her gaze, clutching the money tightly as if it were the only thing keeping her alive. "Mom, please, don't do this," Tieu Lac whispered, her voice breaking. There was no response, only silence, heavier than any slap. Moments later, rough hands grabbed her arms. Before she could scream, her mouth was covered, and she was dragged out into the cold night. Rain had begun to fall, thin but relentless, soaking her clothes as she was shoved into an old car. The door slammed shut, locking her inside with the men who laughed as if her fear were nothing more than a joke. The car sped through the dark countryside road, headlights cutting through the mist. Tieu Lac pressed herself against the door, tears streaming down her face. Her mind raced, filled with terrifying thoughts about what awaited her. She struggled to control her breathing, forcing herself to think. "I can't give up. I have to survive." As the car slowed near a deserted riverside road, a desperate idea flashed through her mind. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the door handle, again and again. The men were distracted, arguing loudly, unaware of her silent struggle. Then, the door loosened. With all the strength she had left, Tieu Lac kicked the door open and threw herself out of the moving car. Her body hit the ground violently, pain exploding through her limbs. She rolled across the rough road, her skin burning, her vision spinning. "Stop her!" someone shouted behind her. Ignoring the pain, she forced herself to stand. Ahead of her was the river, dark, wide, and terrifying. Behind her were the men who would drag her back into hell. She ran. Rain mixed with tears as she reached the riverbank. Without another thought, she jumped. The freezing water swallowed her instantly. The shock stole her breath as the strong current pulled her under. She struggled desperately, arms flailing, but her strength was fading fast. The river roared around her, merciless and cold, dragging her further away from the shore. Her consciousness began to blur. Images flashed through her mind, childhood memories, quiet dreams she had never dared to speak aloud, and the painful realization that she had been abandoned by the only family she had ever known. "Is this how it ends?" she thought weakly. Her body struck something hard beneath the water, and the last of her strength disappeared. The current carried her lifeless form toward the shore, gently laying her on the muddy riverbank like a broken doll. Rain continued to fall, washing away the footprints, the screams, and the cruelty of the night, leaving Tieu Lac unconscious, balanced on the fragile line between life and death. The night was deep and silent when the black luxury car slowed along the riverside road. Inside the car sat the CEO, his eyes tired after a long meeting that had dragged late into the night. The city lights were far behind now, replaced by darkness, mist, and the sound of rain tapping softly against the windows. Just as the car passed a narrow curve, something caught his attention. "Stop the car," he said suddenly. The driver hesitated. "Sir?" "There, by the river." The car came to an abrupt halt. Through the rain and faint headlights, the CEO saw a figure lying motionless near the muddy riverbank. For a brief moment, he wondered if it was only a shadow or debris washed ashore, but his instincts told him otherwise. He stepped out into the rain. The cold air hit him immediately as he walked closer. The figure was a young woman. Her clothes were soaked through, her hair tangled with mud and river weeds. Her skin was pale, almost lifeless, and her lips had turned a faint shade of blue. "She's still breathing," the driver said anxiously after checking her pulse. Without hesitation, the CEO bent down and carefully lifted her into his arms. She was frighteningly light, as if all strength had already left her body. Water dripped from her clothes onto his suit, but he didn't care. "Get to the nearest hospital, now." The car sped through the rain-filled road, wipers moving frantically as the driver pushed the engine to its limit. In the back seat, the CEO wrapped his coat around the unconscious girl, trying to keep her warm. Her body was cold, trembling faintly, her breathing shallow and uneven. "Stay with me," he murmured, though he didn't know why he said it. At the private hospital, doctors rushed her into the emergency room the moment they arrived. Nurses worked quickly, cutting away her wet clothes, attaching monitors, and starting emergency treatment for hypothermia and internal injuries. The CEO stood just outside the glass doors, watching every movement inside. Time seemed to slow down. Each second felt unbearably long as he waited, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. A doctor finally stepped out. "She fell into the river," the CEO said before being asked. "Will she survive?" "She was lucky," the doctor replied. "Another 10 minutes in the water and it would have been too late. She has multiple bruises and signs of exhaustion, but she's young and strong. She'll pull through." The tension in his chest eased slightly, though his concern did not fade. Hours passed. The rain outside had stopped, and dawn began to creep through the hospital windows. The CEO remained seated in the hallway, untouched coffee growing cold beside him. He hadn't left, not even once. Inside the quiet hospital room, Tieu Lac lay connected to machines that beeped softly, her face calmer now, her breathing steady. For reasons he couldn't explain, the CEO stayed nearby, watching over her like a silent guardian. When her fingers finally twitched, he noticed immediately. Her eyelashes fluttered, and slowly, painfully, she opened her eyes. Confusion filled her gaze as she looked around the unfamiliar room. Panic flickered briefly, and she tried to move, but her body felt weak and heavy. "Don't move," the CEO said gently, stepping closer. "You're safe." Her eyes met his, cautious, frightened, yet searching for reassurance. "You were found by the river. You fell into the water. The doctor saved you." Tears welled up in her eyes as fragmented memories rushed back. The car, the river, the darkness. Her lips trembled. "You saved me?" she whispered hoarsely. He nodded slowly. For the first time that night, a faint warmth spread through the cold hospital room. A quiet moment where two strangers stood at the beginning of a fate neither of them could yet understand. Soft morning light filtered through the pale curtains of the hospital room, gently waking Tieu Lac from a restless sleep. Her eyelids felt heavy, her body weak, as if every breath required effort. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The steady beeping of medical equipment echoed faintly in the quiet room, grounding her in reality. Slowly, memories returned, fragmented and painful. The car, the rain, the river. Fear tightened her chest, and she instinctively tried to sit up, only to be stopped by a sudden wave of dizziness. "Please don't move." The calm, steady voice came from beside her bed. She turned her head and saw him, the man who had been watching over her. He stood there in a simple dark coat, his expression composed yet unmistakably concerned. There was no harshness in his eyes, only quiet reassurance. "You've been unconscious for several hours," he continued gently. "Your body needs time to recover." Tieu Lac swallowed hard, her throat dry. Her fingers clutched the edge of the blanket as her eyes filled with tears she didn't fully understand. "Am I alive?" she asked softly. "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "You are safe now." Those words broke something inside her. Tears spilled down her cheeks as emotions she had suppressed for so long finally surfaced. Fear, pain, abandonment, and relief, all tangled together. She turned her face away, ashamed of her weakness, but he did not look away. After a moment, she gathered what little strength she had and slowly pushed herself upright. Despite the protest from her body, she forced herself to bow her head deeply. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "If you hadn't saved me, I wouldn't be here." He was taken aback by the sincerity in her gesture. Few people bowed to him like that. Fewer still thanked him with such raw honesty. "You don't owe me anything. Anyone would have done the same." She shook her head faintly. Not everyone would have stopped. Silence filled the room, heavy yet strangely comforting. The CEO studied her more closely now. She looked fragile, almost breakable, but there was something else beneath that, resilience shaped by hardship. "You don't have to tell me what happened, but if you need help, I won't turn away." Her hands tightened in the blanket. For years, she had learned not to trust easily. Yet, in that moment, standing between the fear of returning to the past and the unknown future, she found herself wanting to believe him. "I have nowhere to go," she admitted quietly. "If I go back, they'll find me." He nodded slowly, understanding more than she had said out loud. "Then stay," he said simply, "at least until you recover. No one will force you to leave." Her eyes widened in shock. "I can't burden you like that." "You're not a burden," he replied calmly. "This hospital is under my name. You'll be protected here." Those words, spoken so lightly, carried more safety than she had ever known. Tieu Lac lowered her head again, tears falling freely now. "I'll remember this kindness. No matter what happens, I won't forget." The CEO watched her quietly. He didn't realize it yet, but the decision he had just made, To stop that car, to save a stranger, to offer her shelter, would alter both of their lives in ways far beyond this hospital room. Outside, the city awakened to a new day. Inside, a new chapter had begun, not one of fear and betrayal, but of healing, trust, and a fate slowly unfolding between two souls brought together by the river.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tiểu Lạc Review. Và vậy là câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong câu chuyện ngày hôm nay của chúng ta đã nói về nội dung Lý Tiểu Lạc là ai và vị CEO là ai. Lý Tiểu Lạc trong câu chuyện đã được nhắc tới đó chính là một cô gái mồ côi được mẹ nuôi nhận về nuôi, nhưng mà nhà mẹ nuôi của cô đang nợ nần rất là nhiều nên quyết định gả cô đi cho một người khác để gán nợ, nhưng cô không đồng ý muốn lấy người này làm chồng, nên trong quá trình dẫn dâu về nhà chồng cô đã bỏ trốn nhân lúc xe ô tô dừng ở ven đường. Và cô bỏ trốn thì rất là tình cờ cô đã gặp được vị CEO này. Vị CEO này rất là tốt bụng, đã cưu mang cô và đã cưu mang giúp đỡ cô. Vị CEO này đã đề nghị là Lý Tiểu Lạc về chung sống với vị CEO. Lý Tiểu Lạc sau nhiều hồi phân vân thì cũng đã quyết định về sống với vị CEO. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn về cuộc sống của Tiểu Lạc và vị CEO sẽ còn được kể các video tiếp theo. Các bạn đừng quên bấm vào nút subscribe để đăng ký kênh, sẽ nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim của Tiểu Lạc sẽ được phát sóng trên kênh Lý Tiểu Lạc Review vào lúc 17 giờ Việt Nam nha. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều đã luôn theo dõi và ủng hộ kênh mình. Nếu các bạn thấy video hôm nay hay, hấp dẫn, mới lạ, hãy cho mình xin nút like, share và để lại bình luận ở dưới video nha. Thanks for watching my video. Please continue support my channel everyone. Bye bye everyone.